welcome to Carlos Cooks again. It's Tuesday today and a very humid Tuesday here in Gloucester in England. The sky's cloudy, it really needs to rain to clear the air. It's so hot in the kitchen today. I've already been baking, made some scones this morning. Now I've got to prepare something for dinner because Tuesday is typically the day my daughter and her partner come over for dinner and I have to come up with something. So I thought today what I would do was a baked linguini with marinara sauce and cheeses with some nice meatballs on top, some mozzarella and parsley to finish it off. And we're going to bake that in the oven and have that, and we're going to have it with garlic bread. So the first thing I'm going to do is going to make the meatballs, and for that I'm using 500 grams of lean pork mince, and rather than put all of the ingredients in that you need like breadcrumbs and seasoning and herbs and onion, it's a lot easier and it's a bit of a quick cheat of mine to just add a stuffing mix. So I bought a nice stuffing mix that's got everything I need in it. It's got ciabatta crumbs in it, it's got red onion, it's got seasoning, it's got herbs. We're just going to add a little bit more oregano to it just to Italian it up a bit, and an egg, and that'll make our meatballs. And we're going to bake those in the oven at 180 degrees just for about 20 minutes just to firm them up. I'm not going to cook them all the way because they will continue cooking on the rest of the dish when we make it. So let's get started making those meatballs. Okay, the first thing to do for the meatballs, we don't add the stuffing mix dry, so I am going to make it up with some hot water, but I'm not going to make it soggy and gooey, and we're just going to add a little bit of moisture to it just to help with the binding. And that's a 130 gram packet of stuffing mix. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of hot water over it, not much, and it will soak it up. I'll just use a fork just to stir it round. We just want to get a bit of moisture into it. It's going to help release some of the flavours for starters, which I can already smell. I can smell the garlic and the seasoning and the red onion. So we just want it to just mush up a little bit, not much. And this will help make the meatballs really nice and moist. Just a little dab more on that, because it soaks it up quite quickly. Let's give it a good mix round. And this is a wonderful cheat for making meatballs that will be so tender you won't believe. Because there are so many different types of stuffing mix available, and it's just got everything in you need. And you know, stretches your money a little bit more because meat's getting quite expensive these days, but you know, you're cutting it with this and making them go further, and this will make quite a considerable amount of meatballs. Right, so that's nice and soft now. It's not watery, it'll still dry out a little bit, but now we can add our pork mince. And as I said, that's 500 grams. I think this is a 15% fat pork mince, and we're just going to break that up over the top. Let's just add a little sprinkle of oregano, not much. There's already a lot of herbs in that stuffing mix. But just a little bit extra, and an egg as well. And then we can get the fork back in there and just start to mix all that in. Spice rack, gently. It's just a pinch of chili flake. And this will just give the meatballs a nice bit of heat. Just a pinch, we don't want too much. Like that. Optional, of course, you can leave it out if you don't like the warmth in them. I'll just give them a little bit of spice. And a fork is the best job for this, definitely. You can get your hands in if you don't mind getting them dirty, but that's what we're looking for. Okay, so now that's the meatballs done, and we're going to bake those off now. So I'm going to form those into round meatballs on a greaseproof lined baking tray I've got here, ready to go in the oven. And each ball is going to be around about 2 to 3 tablespoons in size. So I'll get on with that and I'll join you again in a minute. Okay, I got 9 very large meatballs out of that. A maximum of 2 of these per person, so that's going to feed, 4+ people, hungry people. And straight into the oven, 180 degrees for about 20 minutes. Okay, for the sauce, we're going to just put a drizzle of olive oil in a pan over a medium heat. And we're going to fry off what I've got here, which is half a diced white onion, about a tablespoon of chopped fresh basil, you can use dried if you want, maybe just a little less, and 2 large garlic cloves. So we're going to fry the onion and the garlic off just till it's softened in the olive oil. Then we'll add the tomato passata, 1 large bottle that I've got here, and then we'll add the basil in, a bit more oregano and some seasoning because we've got none in anything that we've got there. And we will just bring that up to a simmer, and then we're going to put a lid on it and we're going to leave it for about 10-15 minutes just to simmer away and thicken up and all the flavours to get in. Okay, good tablespoon of olive oil in the pan there, and I'm using my big ring and got it over a medium heat. We're just waiting for that to just warm up a little bit, and then we're going to add the onion and the garlic and just fry it off until it's softened. It's already getting there. As I say, I'm not adding the basil in yet, just the onion and the garlic. There we go, get that all round in the pan, get it coated in the olive oil, mix that garlic up evenly because it will clump together. And we just want to soften these onions, so we're looking for them to go slightly yellow. Keep them moving about because we don't want any colour on them, we don't want them brown. Right, now that garlic's hit you now. Lovely, lovely and pungent. It starts to heat up in the oil, it smells wonderful. And in a minute I'm going to add some the oregano because it's dried, we want it to mix in with this onion and garlic and flavour it a little bit. And I'm just going to put a pinch in, not much at all. Pinch between finger and thumb, that's it. Let's give that a mix round in those onions and garlic. Okay, time for the tomato passata. It may look like a lot, but it's going to reduce down. I've got quite a big serving dish for this to accommodate all this. Right, there's always a little bit of tomato sauce in that passata bottle that you can't get out, so just add a little bit of boiled water from your kettle, just a dribble, put the lid back on and give it a shake up because we don't want to waste that. And that little bit of extra water is not going to hurt because this is going to reduce down as it simmers on the stove. So just add that last little bit in. And our basil. Stir that up gently. I'm just going to turn the heat up a little bit now because we want to bring that up to a boil. Let's just let that come up to the boil. While we're waiting for that, some ground rock salt. Some lovely ground black pepper. I do like a lot of black pepper in my dish. Right, it's already starting to bubble, so we'll turn that right down to low. Give that a stir up. Okay, meatballs have been in for 20 minutes and then I turned the oven up to 200 and another 5 minutes because they did need a little bit of colour, a little bit longer. I made them a little bit big. So judge yours, just see if they've got just a bit of colour coming to them, if they're starting to go brown, and then take them out. Let's have a look what they look like. Okay, so as you can see, they're just starting to get a little bit of colour to them. Probably not quite cooked inside, but they're nice and firm. We'll let those cool down and then we'll take them off the greaseproof paper and they're going to go on top of our finished dish. So let's have a taste of the marinara sauce, because that has been cooking for about 15-20 minutes. And I've just taken that off the heat. Lovely smell, lovely flavours, but we want to check if we've got the seasoning right. So we're just going to give it a quick taste just to see. Oh, that's beautiful. That doesn't need anything else. No, that's lovely. So we'll leave that as is. Okay, got a stock pot here with our well salted water. Nearly about halfway up the water, and it's just starting to boil now, so we're going to add our linguini in. And as I said, barely a minute for this because it is fresh linguini. And it's not going to take long at all. 3 minutes if you want to cook it properly, but we don't. We just want it al dente so that we can continue cooking it in the baked dish at the end. So let's just give that a stir with some tongs, break it all up. And 1 minute on the timer, because that's all it will need when it comes back up to the boil. And then I'm going to strain that off in my handy pasta strainer, which allows us to keep the pasta water, because we will want some of that, because we're going to mix some of that later on with the marinara sauce if we start to run out, and also a bit back into the pasta just to rejuvenate it a little bit. And there we go, there's the timer. That's a minute. Let's turn the heat off, just give it a stir, and that is going to be it for that. We do not want any more than that. Let's turn the heat off. And I'm going to pour it straight into our strainer. Okay, everything has cooled down now, and it's time to make the finished dish. So linguini is all cooled down, but it is cooked, well, al dente, and it will finish off when we bake it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start adding our marinara sauce first, and we're going to get a good coating of that mixed into the pasta. This is all cooled down, so hopefully when we add the cheese it will just sit nicely in the pasta until it's baked in the oven and won't melt now. So we're going to give that good coating of that sauce, get everything really well coated. We'll do this a couple of times. Right, now, 2 cheeses. First I'm going to put a good handful of Emmental in there, which I've got bought grated. So we're just going to sprinkle that on. This is going to be like a gooey lasagna base when it's come out of the oven. It's going to be gorgeous. And then some mozzarella. Same again, let's mix that into the pasta, get it all mixed in. It's becoming a beautiful gooey mess now, I can smell it, it's lovely. All those flavours are mixing together. Right, now some more of our marinara sauce. And we're going to save a bit of that back, because we're going to drizzle a bit on top of the meatballs once we add them. So not a lot left in the pan there, so I'm going to add a little bit of the pasta water that I saved. Mix that in, and that's just going to make it go that little bit further and loosen it up a bit. That's probably enough for the top. Mixing that bit of marinara sauce. A little bit tight now, so once again, let's use a little bit of the pasta sauce. Sorry, pasta water, just to loosen things up a bit. You don't want it dry. Oh, that does smell lovely already. Okay, time for more cheese. Same again, another big handful of mozzarella. And another big handful of Emmental. Or you could use whatever cheeses you want, even Parmesan. I mean, Parmesan would be the traditional way to do this. Grated fresh Parmesan. Okay, slight camera malfunction there, so I'm going to have to hurry things up a little. So what I've done is I've just put a nice coating of cheese on top of what we were doing. And now just sitting the meatballs on top. So you can get a little bit of distance between them, but we won't get much. And then the next step is to spoon the remaining marinara sauce over the top, sort of not covering the meatballs, but you know, just giving them a drizzle to the side really. So we want them to not be soggy when they come out. Just about enough. Like so. And then, as I said, got some nice buffalo mozzarella. We're just going to break up some chunks of that and put it in between the meatballs, on top of them. Just tear it with your fingers, no need to use a knife. That's going to melt lovely over everything there. And then what I've done is I've just got some lovely on the vine tomatoes, and I've just cut them through, not all the way, just split them basically. I'm just going to let those bake on top and steam away with it. And that is it. I'm going to cover it with foil now, and then that's going in the oven for around 35 minutes on high, probably about 190, 200 degrees, and it'll just melt together as a big meaty lasagna, and we'll finish it off with some parsley on top afterwards before we serve it. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video, and I hope you have a bash at making it yourself, because it was delicious. And let me know in the comments what yours comes out like. But for now, I'll bid you farewell. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon if you want to know when I put up new content, because it would be lovely to have you as a subscriber. So I'll see you next time.